Thanks for the opportunity. I'm going to make the presentation. This is beginning is more about my own work history, then a bit more about the services that I'm providing, and then a little bit about the bigger simulation projects I have been involved with. And in the end, I also show a customer case based on CMP Nordhavn. This is in Copenhagen, Denmark, the new terminal. So this is a smaller terminal, not something like what was shown before, but at least you get a feeling how this kind of process would work in a smaller terminal. So I got the permission from the CMP people to use a summary of the work in the presentation, but I can't share the details of the actual work, but I'll show a summary here. So basically, my summary. So I started already in the 80s, which maybe shows my age. This picture, this is my daughter's dog, actually, a Kleinspitz. So when I started, it was called Valmet, then it became Sisu, and later Kalmar. So this is the Finnish side of the business. The other side is the Swedish side, where the name is coming also, the Kalmar name. I was in charge of straddle carriers, and also I was based both in Finland and later in the US, working for Kalmar. From early 2000 or 2002 specifically, I started this new service called Terminal Development. The idea was to assist customers in planning terminals or improving their performance. And I did that about 10 years and developed the services. Then about 10 years later, 2012, I started my own company, basically continuing doing the same things, but through my own firm. Then I was a couple of years in an OCR company, a Finnish company called Visi. So that was more related to gate automation, but also crane OCR. And then 2 years later, again, back in my own company. So basically the services I'm providing, and this is all usually happening before the simulation is done, are related to the operational planning of either a new terminal, or it could be also an existing terminal where the terminal operator is interested in improving performance or finding better solutions, or maybe growing the terminal and trying to find a good way to expand. So the most basic service is usually layouts. Usually it's 2D layouts used in my projects. We can also do 3D layouts. Usually layouts are meant for estimating storage capacity or terminal capacity. And then, of course, we need to get customers' input information regarding the traffic numbers and dwell times and things like that, so that we can estimate what is available in different types of layouts and handling systems, and how much is needed because of the planned operations. The next step usually is to ask, okay, how many pieces of equipment are needed to run the operation? And there we can estimate that if we have the input info from the customer regarding the productivity targets, for example, on vessel and land side, and if there are any internal or other movements in the terminal. So that's specifically for port environment, but it could be also a rail terminal or an empty depot. Then next question usually is, what is the most cost-efficient way of operating? And there we can do overall cost comparison of different alternatives, including the capital, operating maintenance, and operator labor costs. This is mainly related to the equipment itself. Also, often customers are asking what's the environmental impact of different alternatives, and this can be estimated also. And if a customer is running a terminal looking for ways to improve efficiency, we can also come up with suggestions, for example, for layout improvements and this kind of issues. Automation is a topic that comes up often. It can mean many things. Of course, in a bigger terminal, automation is different than in a small terminal. So, but also smaller terminals are interested in automation. And then terminal simulation is usually in my projects, that has been the last step in the planning exercise. So once we have some alternatives established, or maybe even one alternative established, the next step is to actually verify the plan through simulation. So my experience from simulation is that before you start simulation, you should limit the alternatives or the scenarios, because otherwise, if you try to simulate too many alternatives or too many things, that becomes a very big project and then probably takes too much time. Okay, here's some simulation examples that I have been involved with or managing these projects related to the simulation. So first one is an RTG terminal in Italy, using also some rail-mounted cranes that you can see in the background of the layout, and the simulation model you can see in below the actual terminal. And basically the simulation covered all areas, including the vessel yard, rail operation, empty operation, and the gate. Their main target was to try to find the optimum number of equipment in order to get the required KPIs on vessel and land side, which is pretty much the usual requirement from most projects. So customers want to check what is the optimum number of equipment needed in order to get the productivities or meet the productivity targets. So this was done already in 2008. At that time, I was working for Kalmar, so this was a Kalmar project. Then the next one, an interesting one, DP World London Gateway. In the first phase, when they were opening this terminal, actually DP World specified that the supplier must be able to simulate the performance of the operation, and they were talking about the the yard operation related to the movements of containers between the ship-to-shore cranes and the yard cranes. So the customer specified certain moves through an Excel sheet, and then the supplier had to show simulation based on these movements related to using several cranes with different kinds of scenarios. So this was part of the bidding process. This was also done in 2008 by Kalmar. The next project, Port of Oslo, this is a bit smaller terminal. So basically a new terminal. So the earlier terminal was moved to a new location, and they were interested in exploring different options, including crane automation, how to utilize yard cranes in an automated way. And there were different scenarios studied. This was done before Yilport took over this operation. Nowadays it's operated by Yilport, the Turkish operating company. But before that, it was actually The project was for the Port of Oslo and the earlier operator called Oslo Container Terminal. This was done also by Kalmar, completed in 2011. Then a rail terminal project was an interesting one in Stockholm area. This terminal was moving from reach stackers to rail-mounted cranes that you can see in the above picture and the simulation model below. And this simulation included this rail operation, but also the gate operation and also the movements to and from the warehouses that you can see besides the rail on the left. So it was a little bit different because it was for rail operation rather than a port environment. This was done together with another simulation company and completed by 2011. The next one, this is probably the biggest terminal that I have worked with in simulations. This was for DCT in Gdansk, and it was for the Terminal 2, which you can see in the top picture. It's on the left side here. The right side is actually Terminal 1, and they expanded into Terminal 2. And the task was also to study what is the optimum number of equipment in order to get the required productivity, both on the vessel and land side. And that simulation also included all aspects of the operation, including vessel yard, rail, EC depot, and gate operation. This project was actually done by Ramboll, a consulting company, but I did the work in this one. So it was a local Ramboll contact in Poland who was the main contact to the customer.